So my town, like most towns until well, until a couple months ago, actually, uh, would have a bunch of like fairs and festivals and carnivals running all the way from the spring through the fall. And I would go to a lot of them and see what was going on. I remember once, about a year ago, I was walking down the street to go to one, and I saw a little crowd forming. And when I walked over to see what was going on, I saw there was a guy sitting at a table with just four playing cards on the table. So, of course, that being a magician, that drew my attention right away. Turns out he was playing a little game with the people when they would walk by with the four cards. And the game was pretty simple. It did use just four cards. It used two black cards and it used two red cards. And the whole idea was he would lay the cards on the table, and you just had to tell him where the red card was, and you'd win. Um, and of course, you couldn't just do that for free. You'd have to bet like a dollar or two, and then if you won, he obviously would pay your money back in a couple of bucks, and if you lose, he would just take your money. But so it was a pretty simple game. But let me show you what he would do. He would show you the black and the red card, and the black and the red card, and to make it even easier for the people, he would tell them that I won't even use all four cards. We'll just use two cards at a time. So he used one red card and one black card. And then he would lay the black card on the table and he'd lay the red card on the table. He'd say, go ahead, tell me which one of those two is the red card. Well, everybody saw him. He just placed that red card right there on the table. So they all took their money, threw it on the table to bet that that was the red card. And as soon as they did, he'd say, ooh, geez, I'm sorry. See, that's the black card. Would you like to play the game again? And believe it or not, they'd play it again. And each time he'd try and make it even look like more of a sure thing for them to win. He would show them the cards. He'd show them the black cards and the red cards. And again, he'd tell them, I'm not going to use all four cards. I only use two cards at a time. So he would show them again. He would just use a red and a black card. And this time he would separate them out way far apart from each other. One way over here, one way over there. And he wouldn't even move them around. He'd say, I'm not going to move them around like those other guys do. I'm going to leave them right where they settled on the table. So go ahead, tell me which one of those two is the red card. Well, again, everybody would guess the card over there. They'd say, oh, geez, no, I'm sorry. That's the black card. Would you like to play again? So I watched him do this for a while to try and figure out what was going on. And eventually I did figure out what was going on. I figured out exactly what he was doing. You know what he was doing, right? He was cheating. That's right, he was cheating. And I didn't know how he was cheating, but I did figure out when he was cheating. And if you know when somebody's cheating, you can use that. That's just as good as knowing how they're cheating to beat them. So let me show you what I found out that I think he was doing. Anyway, he had the red and a black card and a red and a black card. And that part was true. And again, he'd say, I'm only going to use two of the cards to start with. And of course, that was true. He'd show you the red and the black card. And he'd lay those on the table again, which is true. And he'd leave himself a red and a black card. But this is the part when he cheated, because every time he would go like this with that black card, somehow he was able to switch this black card for the red card that was on the table. So every time he played the game, he would end up with the red cards in his hand, and the black cards would always end up on the table. As soon as I figured that out, I knew I could beat him at his own game. So I waited till everybody else left. I ran up to his table and I said, let me play that game with you once. What do you say? He said, sure, that sounds good. So he showed me the cards again. He laid a black and a red card on the table. He kept a black and a red card for himself. And I took all my money out, threw it on the table, and say, let's bet. He said, sounds good. So I waited until I saw him do this. And as soon as I saw him do that, I knew I had him. He said, where's the red card? And I said, the red card's right there. He said, no, really, where's the red card? I said, no, I'm going to bet everything that the red card is right there. He said, you're sure? I said, absolutely, I'm positive. And then he turned those cards over to show me. He said, nope, I'm sorry, these are the black cards. And he took the money and he went off down the street. But the odd thing I noticed is when he picked the cards up off the table when he was leaving, those cards on the table were black cards as well. And at that point, I realized that a phrase I had heard years ago from a gambler, Harry the Hat, rang true. He used to always say, never eat at a place called Mom. Never play a game of cards with a guy called Pops. And his fool and his money were lucky to get together in the first place.